Recording here. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 7:37. Welcome to City Island Rising, to everybody who's attending. I assume our ranks might grow as this goes on and people might be coming on and off. I want to thank everybody for taking the opportunity to be here with us today. We have a full agenda. Thank you, Louisa, for putting it into the chat at that very moment. And we want to get right to it. So, David, are you prepared to speak a little about the public power campaign?
I am. Hello, everybody, and thank you all for being here. I think what we're going to try to do is make a motion, right, for us to accept and to sign on to a couple of different things, right? One is the public power letter, right? And then also would be for the legislation to study putting utility lines underground, right? And I think they do go hand in hand. Obviously, we've seen what happens here on the island with just the simplest of storms, that people lose power, and it causes a lot of issues. There are people who are, we have a fairly large senior population here that can be affected by these things as well. So just to give a little idea of what the public power bill is, right? It is essentially saying that we should not have basically a for-profit system, for our public, for our power. Just to give you an idea, a lot of the, they talk about, in terms of when you put profit before, a couple of things that you don't want to put profit before, right? So it's certainly, one is, power, obviously the other is your healthcare, things of that nature, right? Part of my issue with putting that, when their concern is profit, right, there are the ways that they go about making sure that happens, right? And that is by raising your rates, by doing less infrastructure, rebuilding, things of that nature, right? And when that is your focus, then that's the real issue, right? And I have no issues with people making money. I think that's a great thing. But when the chairman of Con Edison last year, his total compensation was close to $9 million, right? And it was almost 3 of that came in cash, and the rest, most of it came in his stock. And that is his focus, right? Because if the company Con Ed is more profitable, his stock is much higher and he makes a lot more money, right? So it's always going to be that instead of the people. So I think this is something that, again, I'd like to make a motion that we sign on to this letter. If anybody needs to see what the letter looks like, we can send that out to them, John, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
As you said, it's a letter of support, and this is based off the meeting we had 2 months ago. So everybody should remember, this was Michael Paulson who came and presented the public power campaign. So this is just a letter they've asked for in the affirmative for municipal control, as David said. So David has made the motion. Can I get a second on the motion?
I second.
Thank you, Beverly. Does anyone else want to comment before we take the vote? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Thank you. The motion has passed. The second matter, I'm going to take the lead on here. This is going to be a 2-minute thing because it's very quick. Everyone's familiar with the fact that we have a speed camera on City Island, and everyone's familiar with the fact that our patterns of speeding are atypical of the normal New York City commute. And there is an effort underway in the state legislature to alter some of the cameras and make them 24/7. So my motion is to write to our 2 representatives in Albany, Senator Biaggi, whose representative is on the call with us today, thank you, and Assemblymember Benedetto, and ask them to do whatever they can to get this site included in the legislation. I know some of you have been complaining to me about drag racing on the island. We know that's a frequent summer concern. We're in the middle of the legislative session, so I think a statement of support could really go a long way. And then hopefully we'll decrease some of the the speeding that we unfortunately have during the summer months. So Beverly, can I make the motion if I'm the presiding person?
No, somebody else does, so I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Beverly. Is there a second to the motion? David, thank you. All in favor? Actually, hold on before we vote. Does anyone want to ask a question or speak on this before we vote? Okay. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstaining? Thank you. The motion has passed unanimously as well. Beverly, do you want to kind of bring us up to speed on internal governance, please?
Sure. So I will make another plug for anybody that is interested in joining our board. We have a couple of vacancies, and we will be meeting to add folks to the board at our board meeting in April. So if you are interested in joining the board, or you know somebody who is, please reach out to myself or John or Lisa or Kim. I think that's all the board members that are on right at the moment, and David, and let one of us know so that we can get you into the pipeline. It's a fun group, and we are always looking to add additional voices and brains to the group. It's the circulation of new and different voices that keeps us on our toes and keeps us vital as an organization. So please consider throwing your hat in the ring if you'd like to join the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. And again, this group is what we make it to be. So, encouraging everyone to, be a part of this and to, kind of lend their voices. I think the more we can do with good ideas, new ideas, again, we are the folks who, have made a number of changes to the streetscape. We're the folks who have been leading the way on the with our elected officials on the Hutchinson River, hopefully restoration pretty soon with the Hutchinson River Restoration Project and the City Island Oyster Project. We've been pushing for micro modes of transportation as well. So we've been doing a lot of good community cleanups, census events, the whole 9 yards. So we definitely need more people, different voices, people from every color, every generation, every creed, everything. Thank you, Beverly, for that. So for the first thing we're going to do is, we discussed at the last meeting, trying to put something together to reach people who may be skeptical or have questions of the vaccine. Ellen Murphy, who's here, a City Islander, actually worked for Pfizer for a long period of time. So I guess, Ellen, I would defer to you as more of the medical expert, clearly more than me. But I guess, how do you think we can go about reaching some skeptical people in the neighborhood? I mean, obviously our vaccination rate is currently quite good. How can we reach people who are skeptical and maybe convince them to come to the other side?
I am the wrong person for that. I frankly don't have a lot of patience with vaccine hesitancy just because of my background.
Yeah.
So I am the wrong person to try to convince people who are worried about the vaccine to get it. I can tell you how it works. I can tell you what I know about how the trials are conducted and why they're really no different than trials for any other drug, except that they were speeded up a lot.
Please tell us a little about that.
I can answer. So I know that worries some people, that this happened very fast. It happened amazingly fast. But drug companies typically do not invest in scaling up for phase 3 trials before they have finished the earlier phases to their complete satisfaction. And here everything was done basically in parallel. So the moment that phase 1 and phase 2 were ready, and that's the small scale safety testing, they were ready to go. They had the sites lined up. They had everything lined up. They had the manufacturing ready to go. That is literally hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure, of manufacturing plants that they have to build or convert from something else. And that typically isn't done. They don't start doing that until they know that the product, the drug or vaccine is going to work. And so there's a lag between a successful trial and the beginning of scale up and manufacture. This was all done at the same time. So the moment it was approved, they had doses ready to ship. They had doses stockpiled, millions of doses stockpiled. And Pfizer didn't take any money from the government, despite what you might have heard. So rather than be beholden, they felt that they could eat the couple of $1 billion that all of this was going to cost them if their vaccine failed. But that's what it costs to have all of that standing ready for a product that you don't know is going to be a success. So that's how everything was done so quickly. And the science was sort of done, if you remember back to 2000 when we had the SARS epidemic, and then again about 2010, the epidemic of a related virus, the MERS virus, that's the Middle Eastern respiratory virus, also a coronavirus. In both cases, labs around the world thought that they were going to be facing something like this, and they invested in learning about the virus, making prototype vaccines. The disease never spread in the same way, and so they dropped work on them because there was not enough of a market. But all of that research paid off last year, because when they realized that this was going to be a global pandemic, they had all of that research ready to go, and they really literally just had to drop the sequence into the vectors and start producing vaccine. So that's another reason that things went so fast.
Mm-hmm. You can tell me if this is accurate based on what you were saying, because what I've been saying to people is that there were no shortcuts taken. All of the trials, all of the phases were done, but they were done in parallel.
That's exactly right.
And the manufacturing was done in parallel. And the reason they could start so quickly is because what I refer to as the technology, the mRNA technology, was developed in the past for these previous things. So they were able to just pick that up. And
well, there were two arms of the technology. One was the mRNA technology, which they actually developed for other vaccines, other diseases, and the second half of it was knowing exactly which protein of the virus to use and exactly how to modify the protein to make it stable in a vaccine, and all of that was already done. So right. there were two arms of that came together, and it all just came together incredibly fast.
Yeah. So if I'm trying to reassure people about the safety, that's the...
Yes, but that's exactly the right language to use. Yeah. Yeah. You're muted, Joanne.
What about the young women who are apprehensive about taking it due to either they're pregnant or they're trying to get pregnant?
They didn't do any trials in pregnant women, so I'm not giving you medical advice, but what doctors are being told is to, women are being told discuss it with your doctor, but some people became pregnant during the trials. Those trials were such a short time ago that they, I think, have not delivered yet. So there are still unknowns just because everything was so compressed, but pregnant women are never included in trials. Children, Pfizer included children adults down to age 16, and Moderna only down to 18. Now they're adding a cohort, of teenagers, and when they're done with that, they'll add a cohort of younger children, and that's the direction they go in. And I don't know if they will ever actually do a trial in pregnant women. So the answer to that is, we don't know for sure. Nobody has that data.
I guess in terms of if someone has some level of apprehension, maybe due to another health issue, beyond telling them to consult their doctor, are there any resources that are available to them that maybe they can read on their own if they want to be, kind of get objective, but at the same time, fair information about the vaccine?
Well, I mean, it depends what you call objective. If you have people who are worried by anything the government tells them, then the CDC is probably not the best place to direct them, right? They are, I mean, that's where I would go. And I'm very happy to, and I know some of the people there, and I'm very happy to say that the CDC survived the last 4 years, and except for the very top, and they're gone now. But the career scientists at the CDC were, they were just quietly doing their thing and waiting for it to be over. And so they are back in the saddle and they're back in control. But no, I mean, I'm not a publicity person. I don't know.
Okay.
Who are the kinds of, I mean, I would say, look for role models, look to churches, look to community centers, people that people trust if people are hesitant.
Okay. No, that's fair. And you're right. I mean, I guess if someone's skeptical, we should I work in a hospital, so I know I've gotten the vaccine, obviously, and I know a lot of people here met other criteria to get the vaccines. So I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer that information, but personally, I got it because, I have my mom has autoimmune disorder, and she has not disorder, but she has an autoimmune, she has immunity issues, and it made sense for us to get it to keep her safe. So she was kind of my reason. Obviously, everyone will have their own reasons, and I respect that very much. And, I think just, again, for the sake of the whole country, we're going to need eventually for everyone to really do this if they can, because that's the only way we're going to move past this. And then we can have a nice in-person meeting when we're all vaccinated.
I mean, we're going to need everybody to get the vaccine to reach herd immunity, but I don't think that that's the argument to use with people who are hesitant, because that's herd immunity is a public health issue, and what you're trying to convince people is that it's good for them personally.
Totally.
And telling them that it's for the good of everybody else is probably not the right angle.
Okay, no. I mean, look, we'll have to see, and hopefully, if people have concerns, we can pair them to people in the neighborhood who are knowledgeable medical doctors. As you said, find peers, find role models. So thank you very much for that, Ellen, and kind of your insight there. And then I guess if we find people who may have more questions or skeptics, I can get a speaker on from Jacoby, and we can do that as kind of a standalone meeting, just for people who care about that particular topic matter. But I need, again, from what we're seeing from the data, people in City Island are getting the vaccine. We're actually listed as one of the most vaccinated neighborhoods in the city. And why is that? Because we have, access. Obviously, we enjoy some level of having cars and being able to go places to get it, serves as barriers. Everybody here has pretty much Wi-Fi and internet. They're able to go to these websites and sign on. The websites are in English. We do benefit from that. At the same time, we do have almost a third of the neighborhood is senior citizens. We have many municipal workers, and those are also, reasons why a lot of people got vaccinated. And, for a while there, we were going through a shortage. I think the more, and I'm sure the city and the senator and everyone else is going to speak to this, in the neighborhoods that are most afflicted, hopefully the city is sending the most, and the state are sending the most people to into those neighborhoods to get as many shots in arms as humanly possible. And I know everyone here wants to get back to normal, and then we can, enjoy our regular scheduled program here.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, just to add one thing, to Ellen's point, you never know who's looking at you and who trusts you. So this was actually a point that Dolly Parton made. So I don't know if everybody's seen Dolly Parton's vaccine video, but it was adorable. And it was a point that she made in an interview afterwards. She said, look, I have people that trust me for whatever reason. And if there one person gets vaccinated because they say, oh, well, Dolly Parton went and got vaccinated, then I'm putting good into the world. And so as we are in our social networks, whether those are virtual or talking with folks over the phone or even talking to our own families, you never know who's listening, who might need to hear that you believe that the vaccine is safe and effective, and that's why you got it and why it's important to you. So I just wanted to add a little wisdom from Dolly Parton.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that I have to watch Dolly Parton's video now. That's what I've taken from that very well-placed comment. The second thing we kind of have going on right now, and I don't think he's on the call yet, but the conversation is about a community garden that started at the last meeting. What we're trying to do now to kind of be fair to everyone's time is the meetings are going to start with just kind of
Dan's
office.
on, John.
I'm sorry?
Dan is on.
Oh, Dan is on. Okay. Dan, are you there?
Yes. Sorry, I got stuck in the shop. Hi.
No worries. No worries.
Ooh, terrible. Hold on one second.
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that.
No,
I know
okay.
we've had some preliminary discussions because there has been interest in doing a community garden. Obviously, those efforts are moving along kind of slowly because we're finding out the city can't really offer much to a private site. As everyone remembers, at the last meeting, a member of the community volunteered her side yard. We're in discussions, very preliminary discussions. Nothing is set in stone. We are talking about these things and what the potential costs could be. But I wanted to kind of loop you in because you've been working on a standalone project, which people could get very excited about.
Yeah, so the standalone project is like a smaller version of a community garden, sort of as an extension of the community fridge. So the concept is that everybody has the right to eat, period, no questions asked. So long-term project, or a couple of years out, is that we should grow enough food to actually make a difference in people's lives, where we can, produce vegetables that people can eat. That's not doable now. But the idea that we're sort of in the midst of is making, in essence, like portable planters boxes for the front of people's houses, homes, or businesses on the avenue, to sort of encourage people to grow their own food. So it is both a, so the concept is like, the working concept is that we're going to build boxes that are essentially either 8 feet by 2 feet or 4 feet by 4 feet. So it'll be in various dimensions of sheets of plywood that we can build simple boxes on, that are going to be set on casters, so that we can put them places, and if there's an issue, you just move them. If they don't have wheels on them, they're permanent, and then there's permits and things like that that we don't need if it's not a permanent structure. So we're going to build these small boxes, and then anyone that wants one, we will build them for. Anyone that wants to help build them, we will build them together. And then ideally we're going to go with starters or seedlings rather than seeds, just because it's incredibly more convenient and successful. But we are a little bit behind schedule. In theory, the boxes would have been built already, but we're not there yet. But we are sort of, and actually an open call, if anybody has access to free wood, since wood is 4 times as expensive as it was a year ago, it would be helpful. But we do have access to pallets, like lots and lots of pallets. So the backup plan is to deconstruct pallets and reconstruct them as boxes, which is—
How much wood would you need?
But what's that?
How much wood would you need?
Well, it depends on how many people want boxes, but the pallets are free, but labor intensive to deal with.
Totally.
Whereas if we had real wood, or new wood, the process of building them would go twice as fast. So it just depends on whether people are more interested in building them or more interested in just dealing with the plants. So that's where we're at. But ideally we'll have them built, or we'll be working on them by, essentially you want things in the ground as close to the last frost as possible. So you can't really plant outside until Mayish anyway. So in theory, by somewhere in April, ideally we'd have all of the boxes built, and then they'll be placed wherever people want them. I mean, I want to put one in front of our shop. I know several people want to put them in front of their houses. Anybody that wants to reach out to us and we'll just throw your name on the list. If anyone wants to help build them, there's probably like 2 or 3 wood shops on the island. Actually, there's probably lots of wood shops on the island, but there's at least 2 or 3 of that have volunteered to help us. But if you have skills in building, that's helpful. And if you have property, that's helpful. And if you like to water, that's helpful. So there's like a couple different sections. For better or for worse, this year is going to be kind of ad hoc, just because or whatever, life is happening and things aren't as smooth, but they are outdoor projects. And then the other thing which it's going to tie into as well is the boxes are going to be decorated by whoever it's sort of nearest to. So it also is sort of public works of art in some faction, which is super cool because the more of that, the more interesting things are. So that's where we're at. Although, and I know that was a lot of information, but that's the gist of what we're working on. And if somebody's more organized than I am, by all means, reach out and we can maybe make it run a little smoother. But that's
Now, do you want us to give people your email? So if they want to get in touch, they can email
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
you can do that. You can give anyone my email. It's just dansparentshouse@gmail.com. Or you can email City Island Rising, and they'll forward it to me. But, no spaces, dansparents@gmail.com. And we'll go from there. But again, it's sort of it's actually not sort of, it is a work in progress. And if anyone has any better ideas than our ideas, by all means, let us know. And however you'd like to be involved, we'd love to have you. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dan, for that. And I want to.
And sorry to show up just when I talk, but it's
no. Everybody's running around these days, and we were just talking about that, so don't worry about it. So the other thing that happened from the last meeting, and again, we're trying to organize these calls so that immediately when you come on this call, we're gonna front load you with everything that you guys pointed out in the last call, or the big items and what we're doing about it. So that way we get all the old business out of the way nice and early on, and then we can get to new business at the end. And it's not follow-up, it's what are we doing from here? Kind of keeping it a little bit more organized. So at the last meeting, we had a long discussion about what was going on with the MTA. And we talked about that we wanted to start getting people to go to these board meetings. Again, these meetings, literally you have to register to speak at an MTA board meeting at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. You have a 1-hour period. They record you. If you screw up, your screw up is in that meeting, and you go right to it's played at the board meeting. So I want to thank everybody. There were about a dozen City Islanders who really scrambled to submit written comments. I put in a video comment because I had a little time on my lunch break, but I want to thank David Diaz, Bruce Weiss, Ellen Amy Cohen, Charlie Moore, Kerry Filagara, Jonna Wepler, Kat Cisluna, Stephanie Fisher, Brian Moore, and Carolee Jernecki, all left comments in the chat reminding the MTA that they made a promise before COVID to this community that they were going to make the bus 24/7. So we're not giving up on this. This is still a cause very near and dear to so many people. And as many of you know, I think we've all stopped at some point to pick someone up who was running for that bus. And so for those of you who picked me up all those years ago, thank you. Probably helped me graduate high school. And for the rest of you, if I see you, I will pick you up as well. Pay it forward. And I also wanted to say that the Congresswoman's office, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, our Congresswoman, her office reached out about community issues. And as the federal stimulus was going through Washington, some of that money's for the MTA. So I mentioned this, and they were scheduling a call with the MTA and with the feds to have a discussion about, kind of adding their voice to our cause here. So I haven't yet heard how the call went, but I know it was being scheduled. So I want to thank Marcus at the Congresswoman's office, if he's watching this. Thank you for adding your voice to get this done. And then the last thing on the follow-ups, and we talked about this a little on the call, and I know this is a bugaboo for a few of you, obviously me, is Lake Orchard. And Lake Orchard, as we all know, is it's the pool of water that sits there year-round outside the entryway of Orchard Beach, becomes the Bronx's only fixed ice skating rink at a certain period of time. And we had written, actually, before this group was fully formed, a bunch of us who are on the steering committee wrote to DOT, the Parks Department, and DEP, all three agencies, saying, hey, this is a real problem. It's getting worse. You guys need to fix it. We heard back from the DOT. DOT said, give us 2 months, you'll have an answer. Sounded pretty safe. That was March 2019. So here we are 2 years later. This thing is freezing over. You can see the erosion of the roadway. Obviously, it's freezing over. It's a danger in the winter. It's also a danger in the summer because, as everyone here knows, we get those West Nile alerts for 10464 every summer. And that means avoiding pools of water. And what's a bigger pool of water than this? It's an issue waiting to happen. So we've been doing, kind of raising our voices on this a little bit through the help of some of our local media. So if you're on the agenda, I attached the 2 articles that are here. One's from News 12, it ran on Monday. The other's from the Bronx Times, it ran last month. And again, this is meant to just kind of augment our voices and kind of ratchet this up a little, that we have been more than patient. We've waited 2 years for something that was supposed to take 2 months, and we want them to come up with a plan for us here. And if you can, tag the mayor in your responses, use your social media. And if you can, use the hashtag Lake Orchard, because it's not used yet. So we can use it, we can make it our own. And that's important as well. With that in mind, we do have a guest speaker who's just joined us. And David, are you still there?
I am.
Take it away.
Well, yes. Well, first, unfortunately, we had 2 speakers set for tonight. Unfortunately, Jesse Cohen, who works at PS 175 and is just taking over what is called the Green Team there, which is sort of a group within the school that tries to reach out to the community to do certain things. And right now they actually have a sock drive going. So you are able to drop off socks at the front door at anytime from like 8 to like 3. One of the things when it comes to socks that people don't realize that in shelters especially, that the socks are probably like one of the number one items of clothing that is desperately needed, right? So if you can, drop off a pair or 2 of socks off at the school, and hopefully next time we can get Jesse on to talk a little bit about more what the Green Team does, right? With that, we do have our other prestigious speaker, and who used to work for these the SBA, who now worked for, and the congressman is lucky to have him join Richie Torres's office. Cecil, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you, too kind. I was sitting here waiting, like, who's this guest speaker? I'm excited. Oh no, thank you.
It's all true, sir.
No, it's good to be here again, and thank you for the recent tour. Good to see some familiar names here. Just quick overview or like background framing. Recent college grad, Mott Haven resident, South Bronx, born and raised. I work in government, as David and John said. Much of my experience so far has been centered on land use and economic policy. So big policy geek. I love looking at numbers and laws, and looking to put that out there for the Bronx as much as possible. So definitely any questions you have about government in general. Also active on a few nonprofit boards, a few circles. And so I know last time I was here, there were a lot of questions about biking and infrastructure. And I say this as I come from a call with John on infrastructure, waste management. But so a lot of, sorry. Oh, could you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. Yeah. I think I hit ask to
Oh,
unmute at the same time you unmuted. So the second time I think was my fault.
no worries. Yeah, so last time I was here, a lot of questions about infrastructure, biking, and one of the nonprofits I'm active with is Transportation Alternatives, which pushes for better alternatives to car traffic, and also more equitable urban planning. I see Roy Smith is here, active with that group. So the main ask that I took on from the last time I was with all of you was looking at how we can get more bike racks on City Island. And I'm still learning myself about a lot of different parts of government. DOT is particularly challenging to work with sometimes because it's very segmented. Unlike a lot of other agencies that are split with like legislation, with on the ground work, community affairs, DOT basically is split with engineers and like legislative folks in a slightly different way. The engineers are all lumped in together, one office for each borough, instead of being spread out in different communities. And the legislative folks are all in City Hall, all downtown, so they don't necessarily come up to the outer boroughs. So what I recently did was I found the directors of bike policy, who deal with a lot of the city bike expansion and who actually help set the bike racks in different locations. Unfortunately, because City Bike takes a lot of resources and has been centered on like half of the Bronx, a huge swath of the Bronx, there hasn't been anyone focused on regular bike racks that aren't City Bike related. So what is important here is making sure that the city and DOT is held accountable for making good on the promise they recently made to have 10,000 bike racks installed throughout the city, especially in the outer boroughs within the next 5 years. And so there isn't a team, there's technically no one hired to do that. A lot of this is contracted out to outside people. And so it looks like it's going to be proceeding ahead of schedule. And another area where DOT had a lot of progress, which is directly affecting the East Bronx, is looking at other policy pilots besides City Bike that we can use to have more transit options besides the bus that ends at like 11, or cars if you have an issue with parking, things like that. So I emailed the updates to some folks here, John, Beverly, some other folks, Roy. But in general, let me know when any of this is too fast. But there's going to be a big expansion of e-scooters and some e-bikes throughout the East Bronx in particular, and that is going to be separate from the city bike expansion that has taken place throughout most of the Bronx already, or most of the city and the Western Bronx. And with the East Bronx in particular, we're going to first see scooter pilots, and the vendors are still being worked out. There's different startups, different companies like Revel, a few other like equivalents like Razor. If people have seen the Razor scooters, really short and skinny, those are going to be put in community boards 11 and 12. around the middle of this year, 2021, and it's going to be like implemented continuously from there. There's also going to be a second phase, hopefully with more with more vendors that have a say and positive feedback from the community next year in 2022. Those are going to hit community boards 9 and 10. So, you know, more southeast, Soundview, Throgsneck, around that area.
Thank you, Cecil. And if just so everybody knows, in the agenda link in the chat, we link to an article from Streets Blog, and we are the only community in the East Bronx that's not getting the scooter program. Again, there are people who have their issues with scooters. I know some people feel they're going to leave them on the streets. There are well-placed criticisms of that as well. But however you feel, if you'd like to see it expanded, if you wouldn't like to see it expanded, we encourage you to reach out to Community Board 10, because we did have some inner dialogue with DOT on this one. And that's bx10@cb.nyc.gov. And we'll send this out in the minutes and everything else when we get this done. But if you this is something you want to advocate for, and micro mobility, if people can get on a scooter or some other transportation, it may mean less car traffic. And we do have nice bike lanes coming onto the parkway here for our City Island Road. It's worth consideration. And this gets to a lot of the other conversations we've had with the council member and others about, considering a bus lane, things along that nature, is that if we start being an all of the above community to get people here, that's going to help us decrease some of the car congestion. And, it can't just be an NYPD solution, because as we've seen, the police budget sometimes get cut. And as a result of it getting cut, or just other priorities, Yankee Stadium, Bay Plaza, to name two examples right here in our borough. As a result of that, we're continuously monitoring manpower hours that are subject to conditional changes, a condition as frequent as the weather. So I ask everybody to keep that in mind, and we need to be open-minded to people like Cecil and others about new modes of transportation and new solutions to old problems. As we all know, City Island's had traffic problems since the horse and buggy days. So this isn't anything really that new, but if there are other ways to address it, we should give it due consideration. And Roy, since you're on and I can see you, and you're usually our transportation guru, now you have Cecil with you, but is there anything you want to add that maybe I forgot or got wrong?
Yeah, it's a couple of, I guess, 2.5 different things. One, I want to address the issue you already touched on it, and thank you for talking about the scooters being an alternative to car traffic. I know that there is a certain amount of, just like we have vaccine anxiety, we have scooter anxiety. But I'd like to sort of plant the scenario in people's minds. Comes the summer, the biggest cause of traffic in the afternoons, everybody comes to Orchard Beach, which has a humongous parking lot, parks a car there, has a good day at the beach, comes 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon when they're done at the beach, gets in the car, drives over to City Island, which does not have an Orchard Beach sized parking lot, and we know what happens. Now imagine if, the people that are coming over to City Island to get dinner, rather than drive the car over here, left the car in the beautiful Orchard Beach parking lot, hopped on a scooter, scooted over to City Island, had dinner. When they're done, a few hours later having dinner, take the scooter back to Orchard Beach and get in the car and leave. So it's sort of scenarios like this that I think people need to be thinking about, how this scooter thing could actually be a net plus for City Island. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, Cecil mentioned, both of us are active in this Transalt organization, and they have, within the last week or so, put out, in my mind, a very ambitious plan called NYC 25 by 25. And this is an idea that by 2025, which is only about 4 years from now, 25% of the street space in New York could be taken away from cars and dedicated to other uses like open streets, like bike lanes, like bus corridors, and things like that. I think it's a little bit radical. I don't think that we will ever manage to get 25% of the streets taken away from cars, but the way you get somewhere is you think big, and this is a big thinking thing, and they are looking for other organizations to sign on to support this 25 by 25 plan. In fact, they call it the 25 by 25 coalition. So I think it would be wonderful if City Island Rising could be one of those entities that signs on in support. So I'll turn it back to you, John, on that note.
John had to step away for a minute, so he asked me to step in. Thank you so much, Roy. Anything else on the transportation issues, Cecil or Roy? Anybody else?
The only other point, I understand there's a huge concern with litter and parking, scooters randomly. It's important to note that any pilots that would touch the East Bronx and hopefully City Island would be docked. And that's where the public would come in as well, because, DOT, us government folks, what do we know? We love to hear feedback from hyper-local neighbors on where docks should go. And also, I understand there's some conversations around the ferry system happening. That's going to take a little more digging, maybe for next month or the month after. But for folks who are interested in having that connection with the ferry system reach City Island, that's definitely something we can take back. And the final thing, so from what I've understood, none of this is like an official city statement. I'm not representing any elected official, but I've heard that a lot of the hesitancy around bringing some of these changes to City Island in particular focuses on, I guess, two main things. One would be definitely the community reception, because DOT is very, very reactive. They're actually for a lot of cool reforms, but they need to hear about it first from the community boards and the region. And the second thing would be more of the geography, because in the West Bronx, a lot of those bike share programs and those road pavings even have taken a while because it's so hilly. There's so many natural cliffs. In the East Bronx, it's not necessarily as hilly, but there's already been such like a rough network of highways. The Bruckner's hard, the Sheridan's hard, Cross Bronx Expressway. So there's just a little bit more puzzle moving to figure out where it makes sense for people to take a scooter, especially when you're making that like City Island loop connection. If you were to take a scooter from Orchard Beach, how does a scooter mix with cars, like families that are driving back home? So those two things, the reception and the layout of a lot of the roads, make it particularly hard.
What's nice is that we've got that entire network of paved trails through Pelham Bay Park, so you can get from Orchard Beach to City Island without ever actually being on the roadway, if you wanted to.
So I want to, if I could, just mention one other thing about the scooter project. So there's a sort of interesting tension even in the bicycling world. The people that ride bikes some of them are not happy about the electric scooters because the electric scooters are not human powered bikes, and there's this sort of tension there. But I think what's interesting to look at with the e-bikes and the electric scooters and things like that. So I bike a lot. I was just out by Yankee Stadium this afternoon. I took advantage of the nice weather, so I did about 30 miles back and forth. Not everybody does that. Not everybody is willing or physically capable. It was mentioned earlier, for example, on the call here, that City Island has a large population of senior citizens. Not everybody is physically capable of getting on a bicycle and human powering themselves to the store, to the pharmacy, to go shopping, to get to the subway, whatever. And not everybody owns a car. So this opens up another alternative means of transportation, not as a as a recreational thing, but as a transportation tool. Imagine that you are somebody that lives on City Island, that is not physically capable of riding a bike to the Pelham Bay train station, which is about 3 miles away, or unwilling to do so, or you don't feel safe doing it, or you don't want to do it because it's too cold or whatever. Hopping on an electric scooter and getting there, in 10 minutes may open up an avenue for people to be able to get to these places that they would not otherwise be able to do by any of the alternatives that we have, be it a car which they don't own, or a bus that only runs a half an hour at a time, or a bicycle that they're just not capable of doing human powered.
No,
That's all I wanted to-
thank you, for that, Roy. No, I think this has been a good discussion. And I know for some of you, you may be listening thinking, well, maybe I don't want to ride a scooter. But the purpose and what we try to do here is not be the gatekeepers of any information. We identify when City Island, we believe, may or may not be getting its fair share. And then we tell you how, if you want to change things, you can. And you know what? At this point, I think between Cecil and Roy, you've heard all the good arguments for it. Again, there may be some that people have against it, but that's up to you now. And if you want to reach out to the community board and let them know that you want to see the project expanded, that's great. And if you don't, I respect that as well. Okay, so we will move on to the elected officials report. And Angela, that's all you, because you are the only elected official representative who has joined us today. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I know a lot of people, like you said earlier, are probably watching President Biden speak. So that's, don't take it personally. But this is my first time attending the meeting, so I'm very excited to be here. And I'll be attending going forward. So I'm really, just my initial first thoughts from just hearing the discussions that you're all having is excitement. I'm really excited to join you all. You're a group that clearly has a lot of thoughtful ideas, and I'm excited to see, where Senator Biaggi's office and other members of the staff can
Timing of
come
this
in.
is off because of the president. Biden spoke.
Sorry.
Turn it off. You can't watch it.
A little technical difficulty there.
Sorry.
Don't take it personally.
Oh, that's okay. So yeah, I'm just very excited to hear all of these ideas. I didn't get to see the email about this discussion prior to coming, so it's my first time hearing. So I will definitely do my due diligence, and I'll do my research on this, and to kind of see where we can come in, if there's a place for our office to come in to provide any support. I've heard great things about your group, so I'm really looking forward to working together going forward. So if you all have any questions, feel free to ask. We are working remotely right now, so any services or assistance that we can provide as an office to anyone, whether it's you or a family member, please feel free to send them my way. I'll leave my email in the chat when I'm done speaking. But we're working, and there'll be at least one of us in the office once a week. So we try and pick up the phone there, just to catch people. Yeah, that's about it. But any questions, feel free to send them my way.
Right. And the number they can call is?
I will include that in the chat. I'll actually give my cell phone number, just because I'm not going to be in the office this week. But I'll put that in the chat right now, and I will include the office number as well.
Thank you, Angela. Appreciate it. And the senator obviously has been she's been on a lot of different shows lately. There's a lot going on in Albany. And she actually, my aunt, who is on the board, Carrie Filagara, she's not on the call today, but she has been telling everyone on the island to watch. The senator was on an interview with Katie Couric, where she went into a lot of the stuff with the nursing homes. Beverly's seen it. A few other people have seen it. If you're looking for something that really explains the timeline, what happened, why this is a big deal with the nursing homes, it's well worth I think it's a half-hour show, but you do learn a lot from sitting through it. So thank the senator, and we look forward to continuing our work together. I know she's been an advocate for extending the Bronx 29 bus and obviously Hutchinson River quality, which she has been kind of our lead person on. So once the budget's done, we're going to be coming back to you for that for sure. Does anyone else have a question for Angela?
Not a question, but just a comment I wanted to make. As I'm sure you are aware, Angela, Senator Biaggi introduced, I hope I get this citation right, S-4943 into the New York State Senate last week. This is a bill to establish a advisory committee within the MTA to improve bicycle and pedestrian access to MTA facilities. And I would just like to publicly thank the senator for doing that. And I hope the bill makes some progress.
Thank you. And I can keep you updated on the status of that bill, where it's going, things like that. I'd be happy to forward you any information via email, Roy, or I can do it through John, so he can send it out, whatever works best. But thank you.
It's ever easier. Get it to Roy. Roy's the expert. Does anyone else have a question for the senator's office before we proceed with our agenda? Okay, Angela, thank you for coming and hope you can stick around. If you can't, we also understand, but thank you.
Thank you for having me, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so these are a few kind of, we're going to open it up to the open floor in a few minutes. We have a few things we want to add here. We actually have a lot in the open agenda here, open floor, new business. The first thing is from Matt Cruz at CB10. Next Thursday, there's going to be a land use hearing that's going to touch upon the crab shanty. The crab shanty is going for a commercial overlay. It's existing non-compliance. It's to bring it into compliance, so they're able to operate their storefront. It's right now, I think it's R3A, and they're going to change it to a commercial overlay, as I said earlier. This isn't considered a terribly controversial proposal. Obviously, the crab shanty is a well-known City Island business. They are undergoing some renovation to kind of take some of the people who are waiting for their tables from the kind of street. They want to kind of renovate and relocate that particular the bottleneck on the street. So this is something probably good for the community. Again, if anyone has any concerns, they can call the community board. Community board can be reached at 718-892-1161. So you can call them. You can also go to bx10@cb.nyc.gov. But again, this is not considered to be a terribly controversial proposal. Obviously we encourage people to attend if they live around that block. It's always good to know. But this group usually has been on the side of being pro-business and particularly a long-standing business like the crab shanty. So we are hoping that they will continue to be with us for a long time to come. Second item is related to the 45th Precinct Council. As many of you know, I sit on the 45th Precinct Council as well. The Sunoco, everyone knows the Sunoco was unfortunately robbed again. This has been a pattern. Unfortunately, they were robbed, I think about 2 weeks ago. They have already caught the suspect, who they believe is the suspect. Person's got a very long criminal history, and there will be an update on that at the next 45th Precinct meeting. It's believed to be a part of the same pattern as the firehouse robbery from about 6 or 7 months ago. But if you're seeing the police cars at the Sunoco station or around the avenue, I do have to say the 4-5 has definitely picked up a presence as a result of these upticks. So just keep that in mind. If you see a police car in the Sunoco, they may just be there to watch things. And again, the suspect was caught, but apparently this is a part of a very broad pattern of criminal activity that has been going on for many months. And it actually, I believe it might even extend up to Westchester and even Connecticut. So it's a very complicated, intricate pattern. So to be continued. Third thing on the agenda, Joanne, I know you're here and we've been doing a little discussion on Bronx Bound books. Do you want to kind of bring the membership up to speed for a few minutes if you could? Thank you.
Okay. All right, I have it. I was looking into having an event on City Island. focusing more on young children and young adults. And I was reading about, they have this mobile bookstore, and it's called Bronx Bound Books. And what it is it's a bus that comes into communities. And they so far, they had 7,000 books donated. And they're going to start it up again in March. So I did get in contact with the woman that started it. And I wanted to get some particulars and some feedback from everybody. If anybody was interested in doing it, I think it would be good for City Island Rising and for the youth. And it would give us, exposure that we are giving back to the community. And it would be a literary service. Now, I don't know what the bus looks like, and I don't know how large it is. But first, I was thinking of having it at the Hawkins Street Park. But then I rethought it, and I actually spoke to John about it, maybe having it at the coffee shop, because that would bring business into them. And then maybe we could get Mary Colby, her storefront involved. And then you have Kaleidoscope. So I was thinking of having it on a weekend in June. Now, I know this bus usually goes towards more disadvantaged communities, but I'm pretty sure that she would come to us. And they also have arts and crafts, so she could do reading out loud. So there's, different options. And, children are allowed to go in the bus. I don't know I don't know what the procedure now is with COVID, but I just wanted to know if anybody would be interested on that or working with me on it. Anybody?
Well, I'm there to support you. I think it's a good idea. And if anyone else wants to join us, don't worry. We'd be handing out flyers or stuff like that and just working out the logistics.
Yeah.
I didn't actually see Peter in the coffee shop since I spoke to you last, so I'm actually emailing him right now as we speak.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're keeping me on my to-do list, which I appreciate as well.
Well, we have time. I was thinking of doing it in June on a weekend.
So what kind of help would you like? This is Rose.
Just feedback, really, and maybe some assistance in getting the word out to different groups and young people. I wanted to talk to also, the PTA. There's a gentleman there that gets right. What is his name, John? I forgot his name. He usually gets the word out at PS 170.
Kevin Fisher.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the guest at the last meeting. Absolutely.
Yeah, and
We'll reach out to him.
Talking to the library, approaching Mary Colby, and see what we
Okay,
can
I
do.
could help you.
Who's that? Rose?
Rose, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Benitez.
Okay.
Thank you, Rose.
I'll put my
Sure.
email. I'll put my email in.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could email me.
I will.
Okay.
Great.
I mean,
There we go.
It's just in the starting stages.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But John and I want to do a Zoom call with her name is Latanya Devon, and she started it. So we could include you on the Zoom call.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Thank you for stepping up, Bruce. Okay, and thank you, Joanne, this is a unique idea, and I know we will be looping in the other board members to discuss how Rising, beyond just obviously bringing in some of the community components, can be supportive of this. And I see a few other people are commenting.
Oh.
Thank you, Joanne.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do a little bit of so we openly solicit on social media and on Instagram and everything else if people have ideas to make the neighborhood better, what their ideas are, what their concerns are. And we did actually get 2 comments. One was someone asking is there a way to help make City Island shops, the bank, more wheelchair accessible? Has this ever been proposed?
Oh.
So I guess we'll probably be reaching out to our electeds and others to see if there are grant programs that we can at least just drop off with the business owner. We know these are uncertain times, but at least maybe we can get the idea bubble going in their heads, because obviously, you know, I have a family member who has a difficult time getting around, and I know many of us do. And if we can make things more accessible for them, you know, the neighborhood wins as a result of that. And we want to work with the property owner, not against them and anything like that. So that was one question. And then there was a second question about UPK on City Island, which I know Kim from our group has worked hard on in the past. Kim, are you back on now, or?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, so I guess I'll circle back with you. I know we've done everything that we could, and I know it got kind of held up there because of COVID and budget cuts, but we
COVID
probably
really brought it to a standstill.
should.
So I'm not really sure what the status of it is at this time, but
Yeah.
we definitely need a pre-K on the island still. Nothing's changed in that respect.
Unfortunately, you're right. And I know we were dealing with a few different people, and then obviously the chancellor has now moved on as well, but we will restart that, and I'll reach out to you, because obviously Kim serves on the Community Education Council. That's one of her other hats she wears and does a very good job at that.
I do believe that the new incoming chancellor is probably aware of the issue. Just because I brought it up when she was our superintendent, and now she's now she'll be the chancellor. So she is familiar with City Island, so that's a good thing. I don't know if it'll help or not, but it at least should sound familiar to her.
Good. Well, we have you to thank for that, I guess, that she's familiar with the issue. So thank you, Kim. The only other thing we have in terms of things coming up is we are going to be doing something on the Community and Climate and Community Investment Act. This is something we'll be passing at the state level, hopefully. And basically what it's meant to be doing is segregating a group of funds to deal with resiliency issues. I've been working with David on this, as well as Abby Adams, who obviously is an artist. And we're going to be doing like a banner that we're going to hang up. We're going to do something down by either Bridge Park or the Gateway that day. It's going to be a Wednesday, April 7th. You're going to see a lot of stuff on this. We're going to e-blast out about this. And basically it's just that we've got to take this issue seriously, and we need money to help preserve our coastal communities like City Island. And we actually have enlisted somebody who's got a very good background in climate, who's done a lot of flood projections of different maps. So we're going to have those maps to really illustrate our point as well. And I know that both our state elected officials, both the senator and the assembly member, both co-sponsored the act last time around. So this is really not geared at them in some sort of antagonistic way. It's to raise awareness of the issue. And it's going to be a part of the New York Renews Coalition, of which we are one member of, to just make sure people are aware that this is going on. And we're going to invite the other communities to come. It's going to be a Wednesday, so I'm not going to add to City Island summer traffic before someone starts with that rumor. We're going to do it on Wednesday. Hopefully the weather will be nice, and it'll be a great way to elevate the issue and get people talking about it. So that is good as well. I am very open now to comments from the floor. Does anyone have anything that we have not addressed or would like to see addressed? Because this is that time. Okay. If people, you know, again, this doesn't end. So if people have like email, things they want to email, things they want to get on the agenda for next time, again, you send us the comment, and either you can present it yourself or we'll read it out here for community input. The one last thing that I'm going to bring up is, and I kept this for the end, is kind of like your moment of Zen, is a member emailed us about why the water was tasting different. And we actually reached out to the City Department of Environmental Protection, which oversees the water supply. And we've actually switched the different line that kind of has been going into New York City. And as a result of that, the water's now coming from Croton, if I'm not mistaken, rather than where it was coming from originally. So we actually, if you look at the link, I attached the email from the Department of Water, and we actually put it on social media. So it's kind of the more you know type of thing. But if you've noticed the water on City Island has been tasting a little differently, that's the reason why. And you can always feel free to reach out to us with questions like this, and we will either contact the agency or our legislators or whomever, and we will try to get you an answer to the questions you may have. So with that in mind, I want to thank everyone who came here tonight. I'm sorry we kind of overlapped with the president, but we will try not to do that again. And thank you all.
John, wait, John, sorry, I'm eating
Yes.
dinner. So I just want to remind everyone, monthly, we have a walking group and it meets the first Saturday of the month. Beverly, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, 2 p.m. We meet at Hawkins Park and we do like whatever we feel like. So we kind of like decide where we're going to walk to when we get there. You just have to sign a waiver and then we go for about like 1.5 miles to 2 miles. Nice 30 to 45 minutes.
Yes.
Yep, so our next one is on April 3rd. So mark your calendars. And I think we just decided in the pre-call that because the 4th is Easter and usually our rain date is the next day, and we think that folks may have family obligations on that day, the rain date is going to be April 10th. So a flyer will be making its way around, but mark your calendars for April 3rd and hope for good weather. Really, really excited to see some of you in 3 dimensions who I've only seen in their 2-dimensional form lately. So
yes,
come
and
on
to
out.
that point, masks and social distancing required.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa.
We can bring you masks, we can bring you hand sanitizer, and I did put in the agenda, again, I'm just kind of over promoting this agenda, but we did put in here helpful links for City Island neighbors. It includes where to get free hand masks and sanitizers. We will deliver it to your door. If you need help for food assistance or you know someone who's in need of help food assistance, David's email is there. You can get in touch with David. He's a tremendous resource for you. If you want to report flooding in our community through our partnership with New York Sea Grant, it's there, how to input that. If you want to learn more about ranked choice voting, Louisa oversaw a very good explanative presentation on that. And we actually, it was about 15 minutes long. It's well worth the watch. That's on there. And if you have a problem, you can always email us at cityislandrising, one word, @gmail.com. Thank you all. Have a very good night.